Lucky Shake, if you haven't seen that yet, I remade the video from last year using the more updated technology. So I think it's a little flashier, less muddy looking, let's say, in terms of what we get out of video generation for AI right now comparatively. Also, the podcast session from last time we did this space is up and available to listen to if you want to retrace your steps on that one. And finally, of course, as Heidi was talking about, we have the based book sale, alternative history, mini genre sale started today. Hans Schantz luckily gave me the opportunity to curate it and put some folks in there that we know and bring back some other people that you probably should know as well. So yeah, luckily he let me put that together, and it is, in the sense of getting traffic over to that, not bad so far since I think it went live at 6 a.m. this morning. So not quite 12 hours. I mean, we're getting views and comments and likes and shares and stuff. So it's happening, I figure usually it takes a couple of days to start to see kind of the traffic, in terms of sales or anything like that, kind of filtering down, for me at least. So, we'll see how it goes. Heidi, I haven't even checked your title. I know you told me you got the price changed and everything. I know that's like the first time you were doing it, but then also I think the first time you were messing with sales and specials and stuff like that. So
I checked it. It's on.
It did?
It's going. You can double check it too, but from my perspective, it's 99 cents available instantly. So nice. We're just doing the ebooks, obviously,
right? Yeah,
because that would cost me money to do it. I couldn't afford. Right. I can't pay people to read it.
Yeah. Oddly enough, Tartaria seems to be 99 cents both for the ebook and the audiobook. I don't think it usually is, but apparently it is right now, at least. So that's kind of cool. If people want that experience instead of reading the ebook, that's an opportunity as well. Ricky, you're up here. Gonzalo, if you want to come up, grab a mic, man. I know you've been doing a bunch of stuff. Maybe we can hear about it as well.
Yeah, thanks, Michael, for having this. Hello, Heidi. Hello, Gonzalo. Hello, speaker. Gonzalo, thank you for your wonderful, generous promotion that you did. I really appreciate it, man. So yeah, I did some work for the boss today or whatever. Over the last couple of days, I wrote this horror story, The Forgotten Prisoner. On my show, Mount Timeless Podcast, available on X and Spotify, I made mention of this, that my uncle had a dream, and I was in the dream. And he told Dream Ricky that he had to write a story about the forgotten prisoner. That's a true story. That happened. I've made mention before how my uncle's one of my inspirations for writing, his love of fantasy literature and such, the scripture, philosophy, poetry, etc. And now that he's about to retire, I'm hoping I'll be able to help him, be a writer, like become what he wants to do. The way he inspired me, I wish to assist him in that. So it's just interesting that happened. So I wrote the horror story. It came out pretty cool. And I'm writing Book of Draken Part 2 today. I just wrote 1,100 words. And it's about a very, very monumental point in the narrative. And just as a reference, last weekend I wrote 10K, which is I didn't have anything going on, so that's probably why. But I got an oil burning muse with this thing, and it's just great, man. I'm psyched. And that's pretty much what I got. Making preparations for Royal Road, and I'm almost ready to start posting. You know what I mean?
What is your projected date for beginning to release stuff over there?
I'm waiting for one more cover for Draken. I'm going to start with that. I'm going to post on Mondays. I'm still deciding if I want to post more than one book at a time. But the reason I'm starting with Draken is because Monday would be the post interacting with its splashdown. Tuesday would be reading it for the podcast, reading chapter after chapter and seeing them put up, and then, crossing the links back and forth. Like I would send the podcast to Royal Road. I would send Royal Road to the podcast just so that there's like tons of traction. Since we're talking about writing, publishing, authorship, etc., there's sort of like an undercurrent of promo with that too. But you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, that sounds good. I feel like you're taking advantage and executing on a plan and trying to cross-pollinate the media and the audiences, and that's something I advocate for. Actually, I was on a webinar this morning that was talking about that in service of like public relations and stuff. So I feel like all of us need to do as much of that as possible, and to be efficient and use the whole buffalo, so to speak, in regards to the things that we make and the promotional efforts that we engage in across the board. Just to speak today, I mean, doing this sale, putting it together, I've been putting it together for 2 weeks just to finally, longer than that actually. The first post of it was 2 weeks ago, and then I had kind of started gathering up a short list of names before that, as well as Hans had a few too. But doing the video, grabbing up all of the cover art and stuff like that, because that needed to be in the actual post, but then using it for the video, those same pieces of cover art, creating little promotional visual components with Flux, the AI model, and then putting those into motion using Runway and Luma and stuff like that, and creating those little clips, to put in to the promo video, putting that promo video out on all of the platforms, on social, to try and drive traffic over there. I mean, across the board, I've posted that on YouTube and Facebook and, here on Twitter and Threads and Instagram and Blue Sky and Farcaster and obviously Substack, and I'm trying to think of where else. I don't know. It was a busy morning. I got up a little bit earlier than I normally do to get started and try and hammer on that stuff a little bit after it was out. But in terms of like making really good use of our promotional material, our media, about our media, and having those assets around to put them into different applications, and to basically, make sure that if there's an opportunity to create awareness and drive traffic, that we take advantage of those things. As an author, I think that's important. But in terms of like this particular event, as the curator of it, trying to really put eyes on the whole collection of authors. This is the first time that there's kind of this mini genre sale that he gave me the opportunity to put together. So I want it to be good, and I want it to perform well, because that will help to inspire further events that are like this. If it goes well, it's more likely that others will occur, and then those categories that other people curate in those groups, that it all kind of works in tandem, and ideally becomes kind of like a flywheel scenario, in regards to creating community and generating sales and things like that, and awareness for the individual authors. Obviously I want to sell books too, but I want the people that allowed me to include their titles and stuff to have a good result from it. And that way, they want to continue to participate in, other book sales from that brand, and to think about ways to generate interest around the indie community in general. So that's just some of my thinking. Did I lose you guys?
No, I don't think so.
Oh, okay.
I mean, I'm definitely hanging out. I'm sort of like writing and listening.
Yeah. All good.
But I get it. I mean, you have a good handle on that sort of thing, Michael. So I try to learn what I can,
Yeah, and sometimes it even works. You never know when it's gonna.
Yeah, I dig it.
Actually, pan out the way you hope. You're up on stage. Are you connected? How's it been?
Good. I've gotten. I've got. I'm busier than I expected to be, trying to get this thing out, and
you're making progress about something. I don't know. You're making a lot of announcements about announcements.
Doing something, yeah.
I see that. Go ahead and just declare it right here. This is your chance. You can tell us all what it is you've been working.
Building intrigue. Well, I think I mentioned it yesterday. I'm launching my official Substack on storytelling, and I'm going to use that platform to actually tell stories. Here on Twitter, we don't really I tell personal stories and little snippets and things, but Substack is more for actually writing out things. And I've been working really hard on Salvador, but that's a manga and that takes a long time to make. And we got to figure out the art and all that stuff. So I decided that there's another way to experience that story while the art is being made.
The novelization.
Right.
Gotcha.
Right. So I got the first chapter done. I refined it again, and I was really happy with how it's turning out. It's basically like a one-to-one progression of the story, because it's basically the same thing that's going to happen in the first issue of the manga. It's just in novelization form. It's like, think of it as the first chapter of what will be the book. And I'm really happy with it. So I'm going to start sharing it on Substack. That's what I'm releasing on Friday. But today I'm going to officially announce the Substack link for people to sign up and check it out so they can subscribe and have it land in their inbox on Friday. Really excited.
Post it into the group DM when it goes live or whatever, so it's easy to find for us, please. That's cool. I'm glad some of this stuff is seeing the light of day.
Yeah. I was really frustrated with how long.
I feel like you've been in the lab.
Yeah, I've been really frustrated with how long it's taking me to get the arts done and get it out there, and I just couldn't take it anymore. So I sat down and said, you know what? There's nothing stopping me from just writing words on the screen. So I started writing, and I started writing basically how I would write the book if this were a book. And that's what I'm doing now. Apart from the actual work I'm going to start working next week on the thumbnails for the panels with the artist that I'm working with. Mm-hmm. And that's basically the summary of what I've been working on as far as writing stories and stuff.
I feel like doing both the novelization editorial only version and the graphic novel version, it only helps to kind of like build out the brand and awareness and familiarity. Some people might want to only read it. Some people might want to sit and engross themselves with the imagery more. So you give people a variety of ways to connect with it.
Yeah, agreed. That was definitely one of the big strong points for me to decide to do it, because there are people who prefer books. And, in my eyes, a story is a story is a story. This could become a movie one day. Why the hell not? So I decided to go ahead with the book. It's an even more of an MVP than the comic is. Even though the story is very visual, this can absolutely be told as a very interesting book to read. So I'm going ahead with that.
Yeah, I'm with it.
I can't stop talking about it.
Well, when is the book going to come out?
Well, that depends on how long it takes me to write the book, because right now I'm like my focus like this week is promoting the Substack so I can get that first chapter out. Then my focus is going to be working out the some of the elements of the general outline, because it's pretty much mapped out at about 70%, 70-80%, just to make sure I have everything in place before I start fleshing out like chapter by chapter. And then I start working on chapter 2. I already know what's going to happen in most of chapter 2. I'm just making sure that there's nothing from like halfway through the story or the end of the story that needs to be, mentioned, foreshadowed in earlier chapters. And then I just start going.
Fair, reasonable.
I'm a very big plotter, as you can tell.
Yeah.
Very big time plotter.
That's all right. We don't mind that. I can appreciate it. So are you saying that you are getting ready to write chapter 1, or it's already written?
No, chapter 1 is written. It's done. It's ready to go.
Nice. Oh, yeah, perfect. Good.
Yeah, what I'm finishing up right now is the guide. I've written it. I have it written. Actually, the guide is done. I'm just finishing up the final touches on the translation, because I'm going to release it in English and Spanish at the same time. I'm going to leverage both. Because I'm bilingual, I'm going to leverage both audiences. And then I have to, by Friday, fully translate the chapter. It's I've done translation work a lot in the past, and I teach English for a living, so it's not that big a deal.
Sure. Yeah.
And I write in Spanish too. The first book I co-wrote with my friend was in Spanish. So, it's cool. Got experience there.
Yeah.
And I got ChatGPT to help me along too.
Sure. Yeah.
Translate this in my style. And then I just go through it and edit.
Yeah, that's cool. That's something that we don't necessarily talk enough about either, is translations, because that does open up different markets. I mean, you find when a book becomes very popular, one of the first things that they seek to do with it is language translation for different markets and different publishers that kind of have a hold of those markets and things like that too. So that's it's excellent that you can think that way and also produce that way.
Yeah, and I have the added advantage that because I'm native in Spanish, it's not just getting it to translate. I actually go through and edit it the whole way through. I'm actually going through the guide like almost paragraph by paragraph, going, all right, translate this next part, and then I go through it and like, nope, this is better. And then I show it, like how I fixed it up, and I'm like, what have you learned? I'm like really trying to do this the smartest way. Like, what have you learned about my writing style based on what I changed, in the last part? Then it'll give me, and then I'll be like, okay, now give me a prompt that will bring you up to speed the next time I ask you to write in my style. And then I'll put that into a doc file, into a Word document, and I keep going. And then I do the same thing again. I get it to translate. I go through it. I change a bunch of stuff, and I show it what I did. And I'm like, what have you learned now about my style of writing in Spanish? That it gives me things. Update the prompt, and I save it again. So I'm like trying to teach it as best I can to really nail it down. Like, I can't do that if I want to translate it to German, but at least in Spanish, it's a really cool workflow. I'm learning a lot about not just writing, but AI, prompting and that whole thing. It's really, I don't want to say enlightening. It's very educational.
It's good to be able to infuse it with your style and nail the idioms. Ricky, do you have a question or a comment? I feel like you might.
Yeah. I, at some point, I've always been led to believe that translation is regionalization, and I always wanted, like, down the road at some later stage of success, to be able to do that. Like, German, Spanish, Japanese, Chinese, maybe some other, whatever most popular language is spoken in Africa or whatever. Do you foresee, Michael, there ever being a competent AI model that would facilitate translation on the scale? I don't mean like conversation. I mean on the scale of a novel.
Well,
and obviously these things would be fiction, and my fantasy and sci-fi is like acid, so it wouldn't be able, I think, to flawlessly go one for one. It would probably be a hell of a needle in a haystack to fix everything. I'm just wondering.
Sure. Well, I mean, people don't create perfect one-to-one translations, so I don't believe that.
No such thing.
Yeah.
True. Well, I'm not a perfectionist. I'm saying within a reasonable, approximation.
I think now you have that. You have those options. You can do those things. When you start getting into really idiosyncratic material like sci-fi or technical stuff, then there's a lot of jargon in there, and some of that doesn't convert well. But that doesn't mean that like it's good or bad. It might be bad. It might be hilarious. It might be really, really excellent. That said, I've played around with some of that stuff. I did a subtitle translation for something not too long ago. I don't remember what exactly it was, for German, and I don't know if it was accepted or not. I don't think it was, but I don't recall specifically. Something wasn't. It might have been for Amazon Prime, a video I was trying to put up there or something. I don't recall right off the top of my head because it's been a while. But yeah, I think that the issue wasn't the translation, which, was probably fine mostly, as much as like the other stipulations that are required by the platform. And that's the tough thing that I think we find too, is like there's bottlenecking and gates that exist, on a lot of platforms. We can create these localizations, but how do we bring the horse to the water, so to speak? Like, I don't necessarily know how to market to a German speaking audience. So while that experiment was worthwhile, like ultimately, the test, I have no data to speak of in that way. But yeah, I think that in general, I think the technology to do translation is fairly good now, and it's probably mostly there. Again, like if you were working on a translation with a native speaker of that language, they would be coming back to you and asking, like, is this correct? Is this what you mean here, regularly? Because there's, the flexibility of language and idioms and stuff like that have to be, the intent of our message has to be converted through the lens of these languages. The way that people speak in a location, they might have a completely different phrase for those things, and like doing a direct translation, like, while technically correct, is not culturally correct, or in terms of that, a dialect for a region might not be correct either. So there's all kinds of different stuff that kind of goes into that as well.
I do voiceovers, and one of my biggest selling points here in Peru is that I do voiceovers in English, which is not very it's not very easy to find. So every time that I get hired to do a voiceover in English, They always come with some text that a translator wrote, that a translator made. And I can count the number of times, like I can count on one hand the number of times that I've had an excellently written translation that didn't need any fixing. And I find myself always asking, what did you mean to say in Spanish here? Or a lot of times I can tell too, just by the way they've tried to translate it word for word. And like, you meant to say this, right? And then I always have to explain, do like a mini English lesson. Well, when you say this in Spanish, what you really mean is this, and that. And in English, when you say those words, it means this other thing. If you want it, like if you're messaging with that, and I always have to like the session always goes a little bit longer because of that. It's very hard to convey the same message from one language to another, and oftentimes you do lose part of the message just because of cultural nuances and stuff like that. I see it all the time.
Yeah, there's a density of subtext that's getting conveyed. For the folks that are hanging out, if you want to come up, this is an open conversation. We don't have to talk at you. This is a very chill scenario. We just hang out once every 2 weeks.
If Smoothest Knight is down there, man, that M. Allen Knight, he just released a book. I think his first one. Oh. And dude, if you can talk, that'd be really cool to have you here. You talk to us, tell us about your book and how you did it, how long it took you, the process and all that stuff. It'd be really cool to hear from you if you're able to come up, man.
Yeah, for sure. Grab a mic if you like.
Thank you so much for giving me speaker, and I'm so glad to be here. Hi, Hedy. Hi, Michael. And Gonza, I have a question that you said, hi, Hedy. So I have a question that you said voiceover. Which platform do you use for the voiceover?
Basically, at this point, I use Facebook just to like look over Facebook groups and find people who are looking for specific jobs. It's very hard to find because a lot of Facebook groups have a lot of spam and scammers, especially. Like, we need this, and it sounds really vague and easy, and it pays a lot of money, and those are usually the biggest scams. But I've been doing this for, I think it's 11 years now. So
then you must try VO Planet, actually. VO Voice Planet, I guess.
No, I've never done work on platforms like that. Is that like Voice 123, Fiverr, and like those voice platforms? Voice Bunny, I think they're in.
Gotcha.
No, I haven't used those. What I've done is basically I built up a list of clients slowly over time as I've been doing my other work, and I've found that's been really good because a lot of times clients just call me automatically, and
nice.
And they already know my work, right? But going through those, a lot of those sites have auditions. Like the process for auditions is you have to record the audition, and to get one, you have to go to 50 of them, and that's just time I don't have.
I gotcha. Yeah. It's the same. So I have one more question. Any one of you can answer me. I want to record my audiobook. So would that be possible if I directly record my audiobook without writing the book?
What?
Without writing it?
Yes, Michael. Yeah, I want to do just audiobook, not the writing the book first, but directly I want to launch my audiobook. Would that be possible?
What are you gonna talk about?
Is it nonfiction or is it fiction?
Nonfiction.
Nonfiction. So it'd be like giving a lecture, like giving a class, or talking about your subject, but instead of writing it down, just speaking it directly, talking in front of the crowd.
Yeah, like that.
I've found myself explaining certain tips and experiences and certain concepts in spaces like this. And one day I realized that I could really just create some content directly through audio without having to sit down and say, all right, now what am I going to write about? But that's worked for me for short content, like individual posts?
I'm going to rein this in, Gonzalo. So here's how this would actually go.
Please.
If you are thinking about doing something like this, I'll be honest with you, it sounds more like a Twitter space or maybe a podcast. But inversely, what you could also potentially do is you could use dictation software that would then convert your text or your speech to text. That would give you a first draft that you could then clean up and turn into, say, like an ebook or a paperback or whatever. You really are going to want to have that paperback or that ebook or whatever, just to kind of connect it to. But that said, Gonzalo, I see you got your hand raised, but I got M. Allen up here. We invited him up. I want to give him a chance to talk.
Thank you. That sounds great. Just last question. Which software did you say?
What software? There's a million pieces of software. So like, depending on what your computer is, that's going to kind of determine the software that you want to use, but there is a
Mac
free
Air.
one. Okay. So you can use you could use GarageBand to do that.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Yeah, please go ahead, Gons.
M. Allen, we brought you up. We want to hear about your book.
Can you hear me all right? It's my first time using it. Okay.
Loud and clear.
All right, good. Yeah, so like Gon said, it is the first book that I've done. It honestly wasn't even supposed to be a book. It was supposed to be a short story for a community that I'm in, like with online community, kind of like with Gons with D-Reader and different things. But I've worked on it probably for 3 or 4 months on and off. And then my sister is kind of the grammar queen. So she does a lot of my editing and tells me how to fix things and reminds me of 4th grade grammar that I have all forgotten. But yeah, I've been writing for a little over 2 years. I have a novel that the first draft is done that I have to rewrite, and I've been working on short stories to kind of practice before I rewrite it. And this was kind of the result of that. Then there was enough people that prodded me that they wanted it published, and I'm like, okay, well, I do need to get my feet wet on publishing. So I put it out on Amazon, and I got a cover made from a friend who did another thing for me, and just lots of nerves, and it's out there now.
What was the title?
It's A Space Writer's Journey, Fate in the Void.
Nice. I would say put a link into the comment.
Okay.
For folks, that way make it nice and easy. Additionally, I don't know if I've crossed paths with you. Have you been in here before?
I personally have not.
Okay.
I saw that Gons was on a space, and I was going to listen into what he's doing because I know he was, talking about Salvador and all these things. So I was going to just listen in, and then he decided to plug me.
Yeah, no, it's good. Yeah, we do this every 2 weeks. This is kind of a chill hangout. But Heidi and I also co-host the Writer's Block, which is like a Tuesday, midday Tuesday session, usually thematic. Sometimes we do a workshop that's once a month. Touch on all kinds of different stuff. You're welcome to check that out as well and join those conversations, because it's it's pretty broad. I mean, we talk about all kinds of different stuff. We talk about things we like as well as the things that we're working on. So I mean, if you're trying to get more exposure for your work or just join the community of writers here that hang out and stuff, I would say always welcome new voices and new thoughts and perspective on it. That way, we all learn new stuff together along the way.
Yeah, for sure. And I know that I've talked with Ricky a little bit too, here and there in DMs on my novel, not about this one. And I know he does some stuff, and today I happened to be working from home and had a few minutes and saw that he went live. I'm like, all right, well, let me go listen in. So yeah, if I can, I will definitely drop in.
Yeah. Nice. Yeah. The system works. That's the thing too. This is like not themed in any way. This is basically just like whatever, wherever the conversation goes. But I do like giving people the opportunity to promote, because it's tough. And I just curated this book sale for alternative history stuff, and just getting people to know about it and pay attention to it and support the other authors and stuff like that. I can't be a hypocrite in that way and then not do it. Isha.
Yes.
Let's revisit this topic a little bit. So you said you have a
Sure.
MacBook. I would say for $0, you probably have GarageBand. I record all of my audiobooks with GarageBand.
Wow.
So it is good enough to get the work out there in that way.
Yes.
If you haven't used the software before, it might
I
take...
used it for voiceover.
Okay. If you...
Yes. But not that much familiar, but just a couple of times.
Okay. When you begin to use that, basically, like there's going to be X number of settings you're going to get familiar with. And I would say over time, the more stuff you do with that, and then kind of listening through to the endpoint, the result of what you've produced, you'll begin to kind of dial in on the best things for your voice. For example, I did a voiceover for some video shorts, and on my MacBook, they sounded fine. On the TV where they went, it didn't sound as good. It didn't sound as good, and it was kind of peaking out a little bit. And it in turn led me to go back and change how I mix and produce my voice. That way, basically, you want to turn out this audio and then try and experience it in as many different environments or systems as you can. That way you kind of gain a little bit of audible vision through to the endpoint. So like you might listen to it in your car, you might listen to it in headphones, you might listen to it a couple different headphones, you might listen to it on your computer or on good speakers. Not to say that a computer doesn't have good speakers, but there are definitely better speakers than the ones built into a laptop. You might listen to it on a television that has built-in speakers. You might listen to it on like a home entertainment system with like surround sound and see how that is. I personally have not mixed like surround sound yet. It's something that I want to do. I just haven't done it. It's on my list, but it's also not pressing. Stereo is currently, my biggest concern. Just getting good quality in stereo is enough of a workout, let alone trying to mix for like 5.1 or something, or God forbid 7.2, which would just be a undertaking. But yeah, and there's other software too. So there's another piece of free software that's available called Audacity. And Audacity is, I would say, as capable as GarageBand, but not as intuitive. So what you end up finding with that is that it has all the same functionality, but it doesn't have like a lot of the presets. You'll have to experiment with stuff. There are some good tools in there that cost no money. And sometimes you'll find that it's faster to do stuff in Audacity than it is in GarageBand. So there's like one thing that I need every like 2 weeks when I release the podcast of this recording session, that I'll pull that into Audacity and do those tweaks in there. Now I can do it elsewhere. I could do something similar in GarageBand, but the result that it allows me to navigate between is not exactly the same. And it would actually create more work in GarageBand to do it, whereas I can very rapidly create the files in Audacity, then pull those back into GarageBand. So, going between those is good. Heidi's been using Premiere. That's for her audio work. It's called Audition.
Adobe Audition. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. So Audition. See, I don't use any Adobe stuff. So Audition's the one over there. It's a very good program also. Like, it is probably better than GarageBand, but you're going to pay for it. That said, you could also do it in Premiere, and that would, I don't know that you can do 5.1 like surround sound mixing in Audition, can you?
You're still going to pay for Premiere.
Yeah, right. But what I'm talking about is mixing for like surround sound and stuff like that.
Can you do that in Audition? Yeah, know. You can do. It's designed to do music, so you could do.
Music is not usually a 5.1 mix.
I believe it has that option.
Okay.
I can confirm it if you'd like. I'll go check.
Yeah, why not? Let's find out here together. Yeah, can't complain. Other stuff that's out there for audio, gosh, I mean, there's just like a slew of programs that exist. Gosh, I'm trying to think. What was there's like Logic, right? I think that's like the step up from GarageBand. That's like the pro version of that. So those are that if you need something that's even like more specialized than GarageBand. I've actually been learning some stuff about GarageBand audio production as a result of kind of scoring some of these AI shorts recently that I did not know were in there, and it's kind of blown my mind how capable that piece of software is. It's been a surprise.
I didn't want to interrupt you, but in Adobe Audition, you can do a mix of mono, stereo, or 5.1.
Nice.
Is that the information you wanted?
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, that's fantastic. That is something that is like I'm thinking about kind of regularly, or more regularly as I've gotten into the video stuff, because the experience, I would say, of like stereo audio is good until you have a more capable system. And as I'm doing these kind of audio drama productions for the fiction material and crossing between short film video stuff and audio drama audiobook production, the idea that you can create a more immersive experience is attractive to me. So like, let's say for the Fall of Tartaria, that was originally a video, and then it became a short story and audiobook. I grabbed up all of the sound effects that I used for the short video and placed those into the timeline to edit for the audiobook, the audio drama version of the audiobook. And that's all good, right? But if I wanted to kind of step up the production on the video, maybe I remaster it or something, or I regenerate some stuff with the newer models, because that was made with the older models a year ago. Going back and redoing the audio, that's something that I think about too, because like it's there's a potential to create a better experience in surround sound where some things might get lost in stereo, where you're able to basically push certain frequencies to a subwoofer as opposed to pushing them all out through a left and right channel, which between using the both of them, that's how you get your center channel, but that's being technical. Yeah, we're hanging out. We've got a little bit of time left. If anybody wants to talk about their work, Heidi, you want to talk about what you've got in the base book sale?
Well, I have Songless the Desert is in there. So I guess for a week it'll be, the ebook will be 99 cents. Can't really drop the physical copies down because I'd be paying you to buy it at that point because of the way the printing works. But yeah, the Songless is in there. I wrote a new blurb that I put on the Amazon thing that I think better encapsulates it. I've been working on my marketing skills. So
Nice.
what do we do? So that's in there. Definitely for the base book. So I was going through some of the titles. I bought a couple. I'm going to look at it some more when I have some more time. I've been trying to kind of send it out and promote it. Thank you, Gonzo. You're awesome for supporting everybody. I'm a firm believer that a rising tide lifts all ships, right? So I'm pretty excited about that. I really like this idea of this based book sale because hopefully it's new, right, Michael? And I think people can get stuff out there. It's only about a year or so old.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's a good way for authors to kind of group together to sort of show work that is not sort of following the narrative of what publishing wants everything to be right now. I think it gives us a chance to kind of be more creative. So I'm a fan, and I'm glad to be part of it. So thank you, everybody. Thank you, Michael, for accepting my submission. Appreciate it. No, I do appreciate it. Not everybody does that, and I appreciate people who do. So thank you.
It was originally supposed to be like 10 to 20 authors, and I think there's like 26 or 27 books in there. And
that's pretty good.
Yeah.
I've been sort of weeding through them amongst other sort of chores and tasks I've been doing this morning, I guess I'm only about an hour into the afternoon. So, but yeah, no, it's neat. It's a really cool thing. Hopefully we can, get more stuff in it going forward for everybody.
Yeah, ideally. Gonzalo, you want to recap on the Substack stuff and why?
Yeah, I've been finishing up the post. Actually, I'm the post for the link for the Substack is going live right now, and anybody who wants to subscribe to my new Substack can do it right now, and you'll get a free guide on for writing tips to create better characters, and you'll make sure that you get the drop on Friday, which is the first chapter of the prose version of Salvador. That went live literally as I started to talk and as you started to call me out. So let me grab the link so I can share it here. But everyone is welcome to join me there.
Crushing it.
Thanks, man.
Alan Knight.
Give me 2 seconds to get the link.
I'm seeing it. We've got A Space Rider's Journey, Fate in the Void.
Yeah.
Good title. We like it.
I love it.
Well, we are coming up on the hour, and we do this every 2 weeks. It's nice to just chat and hang out. And we'll be back again in another 2 weeks to do it all over again. Hopefully by then I'll be reporting the success of the alternative history sale and getting to talk about whatever he plans next. I don't know when that'll kind of come about. I feel like it could be a monthly thing if it keeps to a tight group of titles. So just to add context, the spring sale, which is a little before spring, it was in February, had like 300 titles, which is just massive to wade through, very difficult. And it performed incredibly. If we do a 10th of those numbers, I would be impressed with the success of it. That would just be, I think, a good little test of the potential for the subgenre sales like that. as it is. Also, we are now basically rounding we're like 2/3 through the March Grand Sumo tournament, and you as a viewer can catch all the action on NHK World via the internet or their dedicated Roku channel. Interestingly, there was a new Yokozuna who was announced, but in the interim between the January tournament and this March tournament, he has exited the tournament due to injury, I suppose. Hoshoru, we hope he's all right. But, you know, there could be a very interesting outcome for this tournament, and we do look forward to seeing what happens. You've got until this Sunday to either catch up on the existing episodes or just watch to the end. You know, it's fun. It's good every 2 months. Hey, thanks for hanging out. We'll see you again soon and talk again before too long.